What's up? It's taken a while because I've been busy doing other stuff, but I did not forget. So let's do the top 10 best movies of 2016. Now, we do have a lot of honorable mentions and a lot of movies that didn't make this list. And this is one of the hardest things to do every year, is rate movies. When you rate movies, you don't know, like, you might forget a movie that you saw earlier in the year. You go, oh my goodness, I forgot to mention that. So there are going to be some movies I probably forgot to mention that were classics. Like, this happened before. Like, I was so upset, I wanted to redo a whole list on the worst movies because I forgot to mention that movie. It was so bad. The Bounty Hunter with Jennifer Aniston. I couldn't believe I forgot to put that in the list one year. I almost redid my entire list just to put that in the worst. But here's some of the movies that didn't make the list. Silence. Silence is one of the movies that was borderline. It just came out and did not make the list. Martin Scorsese's latest film. It's very powerful. It's not even released yet, really. So we just saw it on a limited release, and I saw it on the 2nd. And Sully, when Tom Hanks is basically Captain Phillips Part 2, as he plays the Captain Sully, land that plane on the water safely and got everybody out. And the 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, there you go, you know. Of course, it talks about the Benghazi situation when the ambassador was under attack over there, and we were basically sitting on our thumbs. Kubo and the Two Strings, one of the best animated looking films I've seen in a long time, and the best story. And Japanese stories are always very interesting because they're not afraid to go there. You know, where here we kind of have restrictions on what we would like to put in an animated film for children, but it is an impressively looking film. Bleed for This. That is the story of Vinny Pazienza. I thought this is an amazingly acted movie. Katie Seagal did a great job playing his mom. You had Miles Teller playing an incredible story of the boxer Vinny Pazienza, who was a world champion, was in a car accident and almost was paralyzed when he broke his neck in a car accident and had to go through a different type of surgery to repair his neck to keep him from doing more damage to it. A Monster Calls is another one that's on the list. A Monster Calls is it's supposed to be a children's, teaching you how to deal with loss. And moving on from there, you got 10 Cloverfield Lane. 10 Cloverfield Lane was like basically the sequel to Cloverfield, where it's about an alien invasion, and John Goodman puts on a great performance in this bunker when he was preparing for it all along. Nocturnal Animals. You know, another Jake Gyllenhaal gripping, terrifying story. You gotta see it. That's something you have to see. It kind of grips you and puts you into a whole era of reality. And Civil War is another honorable mention. People like, then what made your list if you're going to go through these? Rogue One didn't make my list. So, and it's kind of like, this is the way it is. Now, with that being said, let's go to the top 10. And Moonlight, everybody's so high on that movie. That movie was disturbing. But we move on. Number 10, we have Queen of Katwe. This is the true story of the chess phenomenon, from an area named Katwe. And in that area, there is like very poor, rundown way of Uganda. And there's basically no chess or very little chess that's being taught there. Most of them play soccer. And this one girl becomes like a natural at playing chess. She's actually now got her certificate and proven to be a grand master of the chess world. So number 9 is Don't Think Twice. Don't Think Twice is a story about improv comedy and how people start off from improv and they basically have nothing, and then they audition to become writers and comedians, and they go to the big stage, which is normally Saturday Night Live. So you get to see the great acting that was done in this film, and you get to see how hard and very difficult it is to have natural lives and then do improv for basically no money, and just to be seen, just to be heard, just to get back in the thick of things. And that is number 9. Number 8 is The Arrival. Everyone has this movie very high on their list. It's a good movie, but it's a movie with a lot of flaws to me. And when I see the movie, of course, the ending is making people go, oh, wow, this is a whole different type of alien invasion. I found a lot of flaws with it, but it's very gripping. It's very well shot. I think the direction of how they shot this film and the scope of it and the scale is what really was the more telling side of the movie, more than the story itself. It's about an alien invasion, unlike anything you've seen basically on the screen, and probably how it would go if they did land here, more realistically. As we move to number 7. Now, when I was doing this list, and I said, well, I don't know what to put here. I don't know what to put there. Where am I gonna go now? And I was doing this list. I was like, what am I doing? Okay, why is this movie here? Why is that movie here? What's happening? This is just not making sense. But definitely at number 7, which was very hard for me to do. It's hard to put these movies by numbers. Y'all just really don't understand how difficult that is. But at number 7, I went with Fences with Denzel Washington. I saw that movie. I enjoyed it. And what Fences does is it tells the story of an African American man growing up in the 1930s. During the 1930s, things were a little different. Blacks were working. They were doing jobs. They were driving trucks, and had their own little community in which, they worked. And when you're up north, and it's still like same things down south, but this didn't focus on the racial aspect of the film. What it did was focus on the household in the black community at that time, and the sins of one father passed on to another son, to a father, to pass on to another son and father. And what you have to do is learn how to break a cycle. And I thought that Fences did a great job in telling that side of the story, because there's a lot of that problem going on in the communities today. So Denzel did a very good job in that film. Next on this list, we go to number 6. And we have Manchester by the Sea. Now, Manchester by the Sea is a film by Casey Affleck, and it details a brother whose life is changing, and his brother passes away, and he's responsible for his teenage son. He's got a teenage son who he sees all the time, but he doesn't want to have custody of him and live in the town. Geography wise, it messes him up. He would rather him come live with him in his town, but this is a teenage guy who's a year from graduating. He doesn't want to live and don't understand why his uncle can't live in this town. So, you get to see how the movie plays out. The more and more it goes on, then you get to understand certain things you probably didn't see before. So definitely check that film out. So now we're at what, number 5? And at number 5, let me make sure this list is correct. So I'm seeing something that probably shouldn't be here. I don't want to put it in if it don't belong. Okay. Alright, here we go. At number 5, we have The Lobster. The Lobster is an incredibly funny and crazy type of premise for the film. And the premise is basically this man is turned, you got to go to this resort to find love. And if it don't work out, you have a certain amount of time. And if you don't, you're turned into a certain type of animal. And his brother got turned into a dog. He went there and got turned into a dog the year before. So he's walking this dog in there, and he's coming back for his final time to come back to this place. So you get to pick what you want to be in case it don't work out. And they basically assign you somebody to fall in love with. And if it don't work out, then you turn into something. And he chose to turn into a lobster. If it doesn't work out, he'd rather be a lobster. Now, he's supposed to fall in love with this girl that they select. But he ends up falling in love with another woman he just happened to run into. Now, he ended up falling in love, but this is not exactly the girl that works at the place. So, it's a very interesting movie. I recommend you check it out right away. And where are we now? Number 4? Number 4, we have Hacksaw Ridge. An incredible true story about a man who never fired a gun in war, went into one of the most deadliest battlegrounds I've ever seen, but he had to fight the United States government to allow him to go into war without a gun. And he saved over 72 people single-handedly, saving their lives in a hot LZ. One of the most incredible, different type of war stories I've ever seen. And one made me wonder how this never made it to the screen before. Very well done by Andrew Garfield. And Vince Vaughn was even surprisingly great in this film. Number 3, Hell and High Water. Hell and High Water is number 3 for a lot of different reasons. But one of the main reasons it's number 3 is because Ben Hogan once again proves that he's incredible in anything that they put him in. And Chris Pine did a great job as two brothers who are going on a bank robbing spree. And while they're hitting these banks up in like a two-day or 3-day stance, while they're hitting these certain banks, there's a reason why they're hitting these banks. And once you start to see the reason why, what they're doing this for, it becomes more smarter than they've ever imagined once you see the film. So number 3 is definitely Hell and High Water. Definitely check that out as we come to the number 2 and number 1 movies of the year. Number 2, The Nice Guys. Yes, The Nice Guys. The Nice Guys with Russell Crowe and the man that seems to always be involved in all the other films, and Ryan Gosling. He must have the greatest agent in the world. He keeps putting him in the incredible roles that he gets. But this is the buddy cop movie that was really written by Shane Black and another writer that helped him co-write. But this was supposed to be a television series, and they didn't want to take it. And when they didn't take it, he was like, wow, they didn't want this buddy cop, relationship on the screen, so they adapted it for film. And what they came out with is a classic to take place in the 1970s, and it is a classic. You're gonna laugh, you're gonna be entertained. The Nice Guys is definitely that film. And that brings us to the number 1 film of 2016. Normally when you watch movies at the end of the year, it normally has an effect on you when you put it on a list because it's so new. You just saw it for a while. But it's clear, La La Land is definitely the number 1 film of 2016. It's clear. And the reason why it's clear is because, one, I don't really care for too many musical numbers, but this was not the type of musical you're used to seeing. Visually, this movie's incredible. Even the musical numbers you don't mind because it all makes sense and it all blends in with the film. The story is incredible. The acting is unbelievable. Emma Stone's probably going to win an Academy Award for her performance in this film. And Ryan Gosling, back-to-back great movies, once again plays the story of a man who's basically on two people on 2 different tracks. They both have ambitions to be something in life, but they fall in love with each other, and once they meet, and the decisions you make during the relationship seems to either help or hinder the other person. Meaning that this relationship was basically doomed by a decision that was made early on. And certain decisions that was made that in the end you kind of think about, if I'd have went back and did this, and this, I would have had a perfect relationship. But everyone has their own ambitions in life, and what are you willing to sacrifice to make this happen? What are you willing to sacrifice to make that happen? And you get to see, it's like living in La La Land, and it's not realistic as to what's going to go on, but the movie is incredible. And those are the top 10 movies of the year. And enjoy the rest of the films for 2017. Let's see what they have to offer. I'm out.